In April, I read 2 more books than I usually read, and one of them was an audiobook, something that I only experienced one time. Not because I have something against it, but just because I didn't want to pay for an Audible subscription or something like that. But now that I have a place to listen to books, I'm sure that I'm going to read a lot more. Hi, I'm Juliana and welcome back to another video. Today we are updating my reading journal with the books I read in April and my manga journal with the mangas I also read in April. I have the chapters down below so you can move to whatever part you want. Let's start with the initial setup of the reading journal. And here I have to put the covers of the books I read and also the star rating. So in April I read The Maddest Obsession by Danielle Laurie and I gave it 3 stars. Then I read Hunt the Villain by Rina Kent and I gave it 5 stars. Nocticadia by Carrie Lake I gave 4.5 stars. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson I gave 5 stars. And then Fatal Collision by Harley Beck I gave 4 stars. So this month I had overall a good reading month, but I started with a not so great book, at least in my opinion, but I'm going to explain it later in the book reviews. I made fairly good progress in my goal, which is currently at 14 out of 40, and in terms of format, I read The Maddest Obsession and Nocticadia as paperbacks, so physical form. Hunt the Villain and Fatal Collision I read as an ebook, so digital form. And A Good Girl's Guide to Murder I read as an audiobook. And I'm coloring my bookshelves by format, so paperback, ebook, audiobook, and hardcover. If you want to know more about these spreads, you can check out the reading journal setup because I explain it a little more in there. The Maddest Obsession was part of my Maybe Next or TBR, which is the most common word, and then we have my reading challenges. Starting with A to Z, I completed the letters A, F, and N. For the bingo, I filled in 3 prompts: 2026 release for Hunt the Villain, under 200 pages for Fatal Collision, and horror, thriller or mystery for A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Then we have A Year of Goober, hosted by Goobers Who Read, and for April I chose Hot Cross Buns, which means linked to tradition. And I chose Hunt the Villain for that prompt because of the initiation that is part of the Legacy of God series. And even though Hunt the Villain is not part of that series, it still contains that tradition because of one of the characters. Moving on to the series tracker, I have to add the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy and the Dark Lanes duology, for now I think, that Fatal Collision is part of. And I read the second book in the Maid series, which is The Maddest Obsession, and the second book in the Villain series, which is Hunt the Villain. And then I have to fill in my book catalog, which is basically a mini book review that contains the book cover, the star and spice rating, the title, the author, the series or if it's a standalone, the format, the genre, the number of pages, the year it was published, and the dates in which I read the book. And then below that we have a mini review. And I do this first because it looks really good. I love how it looks in the end, all filled in. And also because in the future, if I want to see how I rated and reviewed a book, I don't have to go to the individual book reviews and read all of my writing. I can just go here and see what was my overall feeling about the book. Now that the initial setup is all updated, we can continue on to the monthly cover spread. This time for April I used a sticker sheet and a die-cut sticker from Runa Maruti. These ones are part of her Patreon, so they are not available, but I'll leave her shop linked down below. I think it's currently closed, but she will open very soon, so just keep an eye out for that. This theme is the Fairy Sleepover from February 2025, and I think the colors and the aesthetic matches April really well, because for purple I associate with Easter, but also the pajamas and the overall design of the stickers reminds me of spring, so it all ties in the end. For the materials, I used some backing paper that comes with the Patreon mail. This is just the paper behind the stickers. And I also used a doily for some texture and some vellum papers in purple and pink to bring some other textures to the collage. And of course, then I just added a few washi tapes in the same color palette to bring it all together. This collage was very easy to do because I tried to not overdo it. That happens quite a lot when I'm doing collages because I continue to add things until it all becomes a big mess. So by having less materials to work with, the collage turns out much more impactful. Then I sprinkled some stickers from an extra sticker sheet from the same theme, and those are the details. In the beginning I put the die-cut sticker in white sticker paper, and that was just to make it pop against the background, because this one had transparent borders, so it would blend a little with the background that is very colorful, so this way it stands out. And then for the title, I didn't want something too big because I wanted the collage to be the main focus of the page, so I used a monthly title sticker from Ikigai Papier below the collage. Unfortunately, I lost some footage because my SD card was full, and I didn't realize that until I was doing the Hunt the Villain book review because I was really in the zone, so I'm sorry for that, but thankfully I recorded a little part for some shorts, so I'll put it here together with the final look of the page. I'm going to do a similar page for the manga monthly cover page, and the process is the same, so if you want to see that, I'll do it later as well. The same happened to Hunt the Villain. I lost the initial part of the setup, but I recorded the first part in my second angle camera, so at least I have that. So now let's talk about the book. This story follows Vaughn and Julian. They are complete opposites. While Vaughn is very strict, good-mannered and pragmatic, Julian is brash, chaotic and a violence junkie. So there was no way that they could get along, especially when their respective mafia families are at odds with each other. But when they are sent to a summer camp as young adults to see if the families could finally create some connections with each other, Vaughn sees Julian for what he really is, and instead of hating him, he is intrigued by him. But as soon as that happens, tragedy strikes. And so they both go their separate ways, thinking they wouldn't see each other for a very long time. But Julian has other plans, so a few years later he comes back to hunt Vaughn and he has no way of escaping. Gosh, I love this book. I was so excited to read about them because of Kiss the Villain and some hints in the Legacy of God series, and I was not disappointed. Julian was so much fun. He reminds me of Nikolai from God of Fury, which is another romance, and I was laughing out loud with Julian. He was delusional, but in a good way, and his interactions with other characters are just amazing. Vaughn was also a very good character. I love his personality because that's what you expect from a mafia heir, but I really love how he thinks. He's actually very smart and careful with his feelings, because while Julian doesn't care about the family aspect in his sexuality, Vaughn cares a lot. So it's really interesting to see them get along and set some priorities. Don't get me wrong, Julian is really devoted to his mother and sister, and Vaughn cares a lot about his family too, but in terms of their sexuality, they are very opposite of each other. This book had so much spice, I mean so much, that could be a good or a bad sign. It depends if you like more spice or less spice in a book. I think this one could have less smut scenes and still be a good book, you know? I also think the problem/plot twist in the end was resolved very quickly. For me, it didn't have that payoff, that feeling of finally everything's well, you know, because it was solved very quickly. For me, it's still a 5-star because aside these little details, I really loved the book, and at the end of the day, how you feel about a book is what matters the most. So now a little bit about the setup. I have a lot of stationery that's gold gilded, so to match the cover of the book I used this PET tape from the washi tape shop and also this very thin black tape to connect everything. For the title I used the same stamps I used for Kiss the Villain, because I like to use the same things for the titles for the books in the same series. I did that for Legacy of Gods and I'm doing this for the Villain series as well. And then I also put the book cover with a white border around it to stand out from the tape underneath. On the right page I'm dividing it in 2 sections. The rectangle on top is going to be for the Maddest Obsession and the one below is for Fatal Collision. I didn't want to do a full page for both of them because for the Maddest Obsession I didn't enjoy it that much, and for Fatal Collision it was a very short book, so I didn't have much to say about it. So in the end I decided to put them together in 1 page only. So the Maddest Obsession is about Gianna and Christian, which we met in a previous book, The Sweetest Oblivion. And I was very excited about them because I was really intrigued by their relationship. But I'll just say it, I didn't like the plot, I didn't like any of the characters in the book, and I think the ending was rushed and not satisfying at all. Because, you know, spoiler alert, the solution to their relationship is a baby. Yep, because why not? Why not bring a baby to a toxic relationship, you know? Thankfully, it was only in like the final part, so that's okay. I don't have anything else to say about it, just that I should have reduced the star rating a bit more. It was actually a very easy read. I'm a slow reader, but I read this one very quickly, so that's a good point. But look, if you like it, I'm happy for you, but I love mafia romance and this was not it for me. The Sweetest Oblivion, I also didn't like it because of the male main character, that I don't even remember the name now, and I still don't like him because he appears in this book too and I still hate him. For Fatal Collision, I was surprised in a good way. It follows Jessica and Kane in this town called Bleakmoor. And this town is separated in 2 realities. Kane lives in Bleakmoor Heights, where the wealthy founding families of the town live, and Jessica lives in Bleakmoor Falls, where the rest of the population lives and struggles to survive. Jessica is trying to keep her sick mother alive and hold her family together, but that's really difficult, so that's why she decides to steal from Kane's father. But she's caught, and Kane decides that he doesn't want to let her go, even after she runs. This book was really good. The ending is disgusting because of Kane's father, and I'm really excited to read the second book and see where this story goes. Even though it's a short book, just under 200 pages, I think the story was well explained, the characters were intriguing enough to keep you entertained, because there's still some mystery around them, and I still have some questions, so let's see if they get answers in the second book. Moving on, we have Nocticadia. After watching her mother succumb to a mysterious illness, Lilia promises herself two things. One is that she will find a cure for the illness, and two is that she will leave the city where her mother died. And an opportunity comes 4 years later, when Lilia receives an acceptance letter from Nocticadia University, one of the oldest, most prestigious schools in the country. Nestled on a secluded island off the coast of Maine, it's rumored to be haunted by the souls of the mental patients exiled there centuries before. But maybe the ghosts aren't even the thing you're supposed to be scared of. So Lilia starts her school year in this university, where she meets Dr. Death, or Professor Deverick. He's a brilliant pathologist in charge of the Midnight Lab. And when she discovers that he's studying the very thing she aches to unsolve, Lilia knows she has to get close. But that's not an easy task, because aside from Professor Deverick's hate towards first-year students like Lilia, the island, the university, and the people seem to get in the way, with a mystery to solve at every corner. This book was what I was expecting Gothicana by Runix to be. I read Gothicana in 2025 and I liked it, but it didn't give me the gothic vibe and thriller that this one did. First of all, great plot. I loved the mystery about the illness and all the scientific stuff about it because that was so interesting. Then the relationship between Lilia and Deverick was slow burn, but it was incredible. And the slow burn made so much sense to the story because you don't expect a professor that hates the students to fall head over heels with a student. So the hidden glances and the little touches were everything to me. I loved the gothic vibe of the university. Sometimes it even made me scared, like that feeling that a thriller gives you, like that creepiness. I loved Lilia. She was actually very smart in her decisions and smart in a way of getting her own conclusions about some situations. Deverick was very interesting as well. I loved his backstory and how his personality changed little by little, but still had that mystery around him. I guessed one of the plot twists, but the others I didn't see coming at all. I was shocked by some of them, and they were very good. The beginning was interesting, but a little slow. It took me a while to get moving, but as soon as Lilia enters the university, it's plot twist after plot twist. And also when I said slow burn before, I meant they didn't even know each other until like chapter 17 or something. So if you want a slow burn with a gothic dark academia aesthetic, this one is fantastic for you. And next we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This one, guys, fulfilled my dreams of investigating a murder. Like, I was and still am pretty much obsessed with true crime. In my teenage years, I watched CSI and those crime shows, and now I listen to podcasts and watch documentaries about it. So this was like putting all those things together in a story, and it was like I was there with Pippa solving the crime. So now about the actual story. It begins with a case closed in 2014, when a schoolgirl named Andy Bell was murdered by Sal Singh. And now, 5 years later, Pippa Fitz-Amobi isn't so sure that Sal is guilty, even though the police and everyone in the town believes that. So she decides to investigate this case on her own from the very beginning as her final project for school, and what she finds flips the town upside down. This case was filled with plot twists, secrets, and so many suspects. And blaming Sal, the boyfriend of the victim, was the easy way out, and the truth was hiding in plain sight, much more closer than everyone expected. Now, I loved Pippa, I loved Ravi, who is the brother of Sal, and I loved the connections between the random characters that appear and how no stone was left unturned. I had no questions unanswered at the end, everything was well explained, and I really like how it all came together. I actually guessed the killer, and my theory was half correct, but it had so much more to that conclusion because what I expected was right in one way, but wrong in another. But if you read this book and you guess the killer, you are going to be half correct in the end. That didn't make any sense, but it's hard to explain without spoilers. If you like Pretty Little Liars, the TV show, because I never read the books, the vibes of the small town secrets are there, but the conclusion is so much more satisfying. The book reviews are done, so now we are changing to my recent manga journal and we are making my little collages for my favorite mangas or manhwas. If you missed the setup of this journal, I will leave it linked down below. So in April I read 7 mangas, manhwas, a mix of them. And I actually read quite a lot in a month because most of them are quite short in chapters, but even if it's longer, I still read it fast because it's really easy, especially if I'm invested in the story. So I think I'm actually going to hit my goal. For the monthly stats, I read 3 mangas, 4 manhwas, and the rest is 0 because I didn't read any manhwa and I didn't watch any anime episodes, so I of course also didn't complete any season. So now let's add the ones I read this month to the list and put a little X on the correct columns. For those who don't know, the letters on the right side of the column are from left to right. DNF, so did not finish, MG is for manga, MH is for manhwa, Chinese, and MW is for manhwa, so Korean. So the ones I read this month were Hate and Love, which I gave 4.5 stars, Prayers of the Vulgar, which I gave 3.5 stars, Your Worst and the Anomaly, which I gave 4 stars, and the last 4 I gave all 4.5 stars, and they are Tokyo in April, Libertine Prince and Captive Beast, Dirty Talk Buddies, and Sacrifice to the Shark Clan. And I'm actually only making collages for these last 4. Before we jump to the individual collages, I have to show you my monthly overview that I made off camera for each month besides April. They are not my best work, but I wanted to use the same things I used in the reading journal for each theme, so I had to use what I had left. And now we have to do the same for April. So I'm using the same papers and materials I used in the reading journal to put together this page. And for this page in specific, where I put the book covers, I prefer to decorate mostly around the edges and leave the middle more empty because that's where I'm going to put the covers, so it's going to be covered anyways. So I alternated between the papers and the vellum papers as well around the page, and similar to what I did in the same page on the reading journal that you unfortunately could not see, I added a few strips of the washi tapes, and to add more texture to the collage, I put the doilies as well. And I put them slightly covering the washi tapes because I didn't want those right edges of the tapes to be so visible. So the doilies are a nice distraction. And then I just had to put the remaining stickers on the page, and I tried to put them on the corners, and then of course I filled in the middle with the book covers. So in the end, it's a very simple process. The pages I'm skipping are for the rest of the monthly overview pages until December. And now let's do the first collage, that is for Tokyo in April. The new employee, Kazuma, who returned to Tokyo from America, reunites with his close friend from middle school, Ren, who is currently working as the top designer at their company. It is their first meeting since the abrupt farewell during their 3rd year in middle school 10 years ago. Ren was his best friend and his first love. He is as strong and good looking as ever, and Kazuma is happy just being with him. However, Ren avoids the subject of their time in middle school rather unnaturally and acts like a friendly former classmate. But he's behaving this way because he is gay and, above all, fears being rejected by Kazuma. Yet, one night, the two of them get together. Again? I cried while reading this. It made me feel all the feelings, and gosh, I was so emotional for this one. It doesn't have a tragic end or anything, don't worry, but it makes you feel things. I really liked this one. The story and the characters were so interesting and real, and the story was so unique too. It is a workplace romance, but the plot was really unique, at least for me. Also, if you wonder what is the rating system I use, it's called Peace, and it was created by me. P is for plot, E is for environment, A is for heart, C is for characters, and E is for enjoyment. If you want more explanation on that, it is in the manga journal setup video. Alain, the second prince of the kingdom of Corse, has faced a dire problem. His mother, the king's concubine, decided to poison the crown prince to make Alain the next king. However, Alain doesn't wish to harm his brothers and join the fight for the throne, so he asks Saul, a Matara warrior trapped in the castle's dungeon, for help in order to flee from Corse. To receive Saul's cooperation, Alain must make a special vow with him and confirm it with his body. Okay, this one was good, okay? Nothing special, but I found the story very interesting, a little weird, but interesting, and it made me happy because it was different. The plot with the prince not wanting the throne was really good and all went well. Also, the characters were so lovable, they were so nice to each other, just a fluffy story altogether, you know? Not many drama, but sometimes a story doesn't need any drama to be good. Moving on, we have Dirty Talk Buddies. I'm going to butcher the names, so bear with me please. Seol Ji is a sex columnist for a magazine with a secret. She's still a virgin, but after a problem with an appointment, she ends up befriending the popular actor Joo Young-kang, who agrees to provide her with a new viewpoint for her column, because he believes giving the male point of view to the readers, it's going to be much more real to the situations she presents. And she agrees, but her only condition is that they not sleep together. But as they grow closer, will she be able to resist his allure? I didn't expect anything from this story, but it delivered so much. I only didn't give it 5 stars because the ending part was a little rushed in my opinion, and the part of her first time wasn't really the best part, not in the smut way, you know, just the fact that it wasn't mentioned at all after the fact, but that aside, the story was so much more than what I told you. There is a story behind the interest of the actor in her and so much more. It was really fun to read. And the last page we have is for Sacrifice to the Shark Clan. Avel, son of the Tangata clan's patriarch, grows increasingly dissatisfied with the Miyaru clan, which resides on the opposite side of the island. Every year, according to a long-standing and disgusting law, the Tangata clan presents one young adult to marry into the Miyaru clan. One day, when he's attacked by a beast in the forest, Tukiri of the Miyaru clan comes to his rescue. Surprised by Tukiri's friendly, kind demeanor, Havel lowers his guard. But the second Tukiri recognizes that Avel is bleeding, his personality flips a switch. He loses his humanity and becomes beastly in a different way, much to Avel's panic. Because for members of the Tangata clan, thanks to their unique physics, their first intimate experience determines their gender. If he's taken like a woman, he becomes a woman. So now, as the next in line to become the next patriarch, he has to face the consequences and become the sacrifice himself. It was so unique and so much better than you think, believe me. And now it's time for the final flip through, starting with the reading journal. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give a like, subscribe, and comment down below a shark emoji to let me know you watched it till the end. This month was so good in terms of reading. The books were awesome, and the mangas and manhwas as well. I'm really glad I separated the two types in different journals, not only for space, but just because I think it was important for me to separate them, and also it was a nice excuse to have another journal, because they are never enough. I'm really excited for the month of May because I'm entering a few reading challenges, so just know there are going to be extra different pages in the next monthly update in the reading journal, and I'm really excited for that. Not because I make a lot of points or achievements in the challenges, because I don't read that much, but just because they are fun to be part of and trying to read different things to check the different prompts. So again, I loved this April setup. The book reviews turned out beautiful in my opinion, and the manga collages as well. Let me know if you read any of these books and what was your favorite book review page. I would love to know. I hope you guys have a lovely day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!